In this video, we are going to talk about the easiest and fastest way to become debt-free regardless of age or income. If you or someone you know is having trouble dealing with all of the bad debt they've incurred over their life so far and is suffering for it by living paycheck to paycheck, then you've come to the right place because by the end of this video, you will be able to understand your debt, your expenses, and your needs and wants, and you will also learn how to use of that information to finally become debt-free. Welcome back, Money Masters. It's another Finance Friday where we are flipping the switch on credit and debt to shed some healthy light on how you can safely use other people's money to achieve your dreams. As we mentioned earlier, today we are going to be discussing the easiest and fastest way to become debt-free regardless of age or income, which will help you understand your debt, your expenses, and your needs and wants, as well as learn how to use of that information to finally become debt-free. But before we dive in, I just want to let you know that on Saturday, we will be discussing the Robert Kiyosaki's ESBI system. So if you don't want to risk missing out on that episode, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of our next amazing video. Okay, with all that said, if you are like us and are totally committed to obtaining financial independence, then go ahead and tap that like button and let's get into it. Step number 1. List out your debts in detail. The importance of this first step can't be understated. Take the time to figure out what exactly are the debts that you have. Find out how much that debt is and how much it's taking out of your pockets. You need to list out everything you know about your debts and try to find out the rest also so that you can get a better picture of your current financial conundrum. Don't be afraid or embarrassed to list all your debts and financial obligations down because this is an important part of the process. Accepting your debts and knowing how much you owe is vital to understanding and confronting it. Make sure that you include details like what type of debt product you have, how much you borrowed from your creditor, who your creditor is, how much you still owe them, and their interest rate because in this situation, you can never know too much about your debt. The more you know, the better you can plan around your info and the faster you'll become debt-free. Step number 2. Review statements to get the exact amount leaving your bank account every month. Our next step in this guide is to take a look at your overall bank statements. You should do your best to remember as much of your month as possible, retrace your steps in your mind, and consider all of the costs you've had for this month, both digital and physical. Do this every month and you will begin seeing patterns in your spending. You will notice the expenses you've made on essentials like food, running water, electricity, an internet connection, and your other bills and taxes. You should also see any transactions you've made on less important stuff like going out with your friends, traveling abroad, snacks and coffee, or going to the movies. After this, you should have a better idea of what you're spending every month on average. In fact, by now, you're already probably doing much better budgeting-wise compared to a lot of people. If you'd like some extra help with budgeting, there are some great apps that you can use to keep track of your expenses. Mint by Intuit Inc., eNAB or You Need a Budget by YouNeedABudget.com, Good Budget by Dayspring Partners, and Every Dollar by Ramsey Solutions are all good examples of budgeting apps that you can try out and use to keep track of all your expenses per month. What was the biggest expense you guys found while reviewing your statements? Let us know in the comments below. Step number 3. Categorize all expenses including debts by needs and wants. Our next step is to take your list of transactions and categorize them into 2 sub-lists, your needs and your wants. The list of your needs should include any and all transactions that involve assets that comprise the bare minimum you'll need to survive. Your minimum food and drink budget, your minimum housing payments, insurance, bills, and taxes are all considered essential expenses. You may also want to add financial obligations like mortgage payments or housing loans and deposits into your retirement plan into this list depending on your priorities. Everything else that isn't absolutely necessary should go into your wants list. Things that count are snacks, alcoholic drinks, movie tickets, expenses for hanging out with friends and traveling, and even include debts you don't absolutely need, like that sports car you took out a loan to buy. Step number 4. Determine the wants that you can sacrifice either temporarily or permanently. The next step is to start picking apart your wants list. Evaluate each want to see if you can make do without that particular want, if you can find a cheaper alternative, what benefits this want will bring you, and whether it's just better to cut it out, at least for now. Now, I understand that this will be difficult since this is a list of everything you want right now. However, cutting out those unnecessary expenses would free up money that you can then put to good use by paying off your debts faster. Let's say you get a $4 latte a day, and in total, you bought 30 cups of $4 coffee this month. That's $120 you could add to your monthly debt payments. You don't have to cross all of them off. You can always look for cheap alternatives to those activities or purchases you want to get, and if you can do that to save a few $100s a month, that'll already be a big help on its own. You could also consider selling any assets that are just sitting there on a shelf in your house and not really making you any money. They could be more useful if liquidated into cash that you could use to pay your debts. The same applies to other assets that are just straight up liabilities as they are. If you did decide to take out a loan to buy a car when you already have one, or some fancy shoes or a phone, then maybe you should ask yourself whether these debts are worth all the time, trouble, and the interest that you'll be paying to the creditor. If they aren't, then it's time to cut your losses, liquidate those assets, and pay back those loans and debts. If any of you manage to pay off some of your debts by selling some of your unused assets, be sure to tell us about it in the comments down below. We'd love to hear about it. Step number 5. Consider debt consolidation. If you think your interest rates aren't manageable, then consider debt consolidation, which is combining all of your debts with different high interest rates by taking out a lower percentage loan to pay off all those debts or performing balance transfers to a single zero interest credit card. This reduces all of those interest rates into a single, hopefully lower interest rate, while also simplifying all of your payments into a single, much simpler payment. It sounds like a good idea, and in many cases, it is. However, there are also drawbacks to this method that you should take note of. Feel free to watch our video on debt consolidation to find out about them. Step number 6. Pay off debt by smallest amount and highest interest rates. Paying off your debts can be done in lots of ways, but we suggest paying off the debts with the smallest amounts and highest interest rates. Why? Because those high interest rates are a big long-term financial threat if you leave it alone, and their low principal amount means that they're the easiest debts to pay off. Paying them off will save you a lot of stress in the long run and will help you get out of debt faster. What do you think about our suggestions for what debts to pay first? Leave us a comment down below. Step number 7. Increase your income by 15%. And lastly, we're down to step 7. If, despite all of your efforts to save your money and make your debts more manageable, you still feel like your debt situation hasn't improved, then it's time to simply increase your income. I understand that this might sound like a cop-out, but at this point, if you've really done everything you can to remove your debts and it hasn't worked, then it's just time to take up a side hustle or a part-time job, to start doing freelance work like gigs, to negotiate your salary, or looking for higher-paying jobs you qualify for. Increasing your income by at least 15% would be a big help to paying off your debt. Plus, since you've already streamlined your finances to free up as much money as possible to accelerate your debt payoffs, things just might go even faster and allow you to finally become debt-free. So that's it. We hope you learned some very helpful insights from what we've shared with you today. Please don't forget to leave a like on our video if it was able to help inform and positively influence your financial decisions and lifestyle, and leave a comment down below about how you feel like this video will help you boost your overall income. Also, if you love our content, subscribe for more Money Masters content and updates so that you don't miss out on our next episode of Saturday Storytime, where we will be discussing Robert Kiyosaki's ESBI system. Also, we'd like you to consider sharing this video with at least one friend. It would mean the world to us if you would join us in our mission of helping good people like you keep more of what they earn and earn more from what you keep. That'll be all from us in this video, Money Masters. We'll see you in the next video.